in all of our history and in New York's history, and nothing could be more representative than this project. So thank you, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Thank you for also confirming to me that leadership does matter. And you've driven this organization to new heights, and I could not be prouder to partner with you as we take on the transportation challenges of today, but also lean hard into tomorrow. So future generations will look back at this time and say, yes, the leadership and the MTA board, and I'm grateful for all your support here and all the members who are your team's extraordinary staff. You're going to look back, and they're going to look back and say, this was an era of what some are calling abundance, but it's how we've always done things here. You know, we're not afraid of anything, and I want to thank everyone for the audacity which we bring to these projects, and all of you. And I know we're joined by Senator Cordell Clear, who's an incredible champion of her community. We spent a lot of time together. I want to thank her for joining us, and Assembly Member Jordan Wright, and also newer member, but is really making his mark. And I want to appreciate my partners in government who I don't operate alone. We have a lot of work to do together as we head back into the next session in a few months, but we'll be there. So really proud to be here at a special meeting. And it's called a special meeting technically, but it really is a special meeting. Here we're pushing forward another transportational project. And I will say this is long overdue. I don't know if there's too many people in this room alive when they first started talking about this. I think it goes back many, many generations, perhaps 80 years. But I also, as I think about how long this has been a journey, I also have to think back to someone who really brought this to my attention in a very profound way, which is Congressman Adriano Espaillat. Starting with when he took me underground, and we were down there one of my first days as governor, and to see that the work had been started. I mean, there was a vision. People thought they were going to move forward with this, and all of a sudden it just stopped. And so I want to thank him for all his hard work. But it's been about a century, I think, that people were promised a new station here, and nearly 80 years since they tore down the elevated railroad, which this community had relied upon. And as I look back at the history, a lot of governors came and went, and sometimes the project just seems too big, or that perhaps they didn't think that this community was as important as others and did not make those investments. And I'm so proud that that era is over, that this is a community that matters, and this is another way we're telegraphing our strong interest in the full renaissance of Harlem, which is extraordinary. So I think this, for the people of East Harlem, the time of promises is over. We are moving down the tracks as quickly as we possibly can. And I know we're about to approve a $2 billion contract. Now, I asked what the contract actually is, and people said it's a boring contract. I said, well, anything related to the Second Avenue subway can't possibly be boring. And they laughed because I actually knew what a boring contract was, but I was pretending I didn't. And it's not boring, it's exciting. But it's $2 billion to show that this is a serious commitment. You don't do that without knowing that you're going to go forward. So this century of inaction is finally over. And this has been a top priority of mine because I've spent a lot of time in this community, 8 years as lieutenant governor, and as governor. It's a community that has an abundance of potential, but also there have been barriers to people having access to the better paying jobs elsewhere. And it's such a long commute for individuals, and whether it's getting to school or doctor's appointment or a better paying job. And so we wanted to make sure that we could show that we could cut through the bureaucracy and all the red tape. But it also took significant funding. And I congratulate all of you and my partners in state government for helping deliver this very ambitious capital plan, $68.4 billion, which is allowing this to happen. And part of the funding does come from congestion pricing. It's working. We know that. Send our friends in Washington a message. It is working. And we know that traffic is down and business is up and people are happy. And I'm really proud that we stuck with that and had to have our break to address the pricing and other issues, but we got to where we needed to go, and I think there's no looking back now. So again, this is a project that sends a strong message and to save people time. And I also look at these projects, Janno, as not just about saving the time for people, but connecting people and communities, and that's why we look at some of the other projects we're championing. The Interborough Express. We're down there, and everybody's so excited about the possibility. And the world has changed a lot, where people the outer boroughs were the outer boroughs, but everybody gravitated toward Manhattan, and that's what our transit system did. It didn't acknowledge the fact that someone in Brooklyn may actually work in Queens or have a family member or an event or a gathering with friends. And so we're creating a connection where there has not been one ever. And this is another one of those products. These are my favorite products, the ones that someone proposed 100 years ago, or this is 30 years ago. And we are the administration that collectively can get it on the move. And so we're going to continue looking for the tough projects. Give us the harder ones, the ones that others walk away from and say it's just too much, too expensive, too ambitious, and maybe this community doesn't have enough political clout. Well, they all have political clout in my mind. These are all of our constituents, and they deserve the very best in transit options possible. So, I just want to tick through a couple of the quick accomplishments before we get to today. But, just think back. I think it's, what's the date? I think it's 4 years aago. In a couple of days, I became governor. Yeah.
Well,
Just a couple. It's almost my 4-year anniversary of being governor, but they had already started, but delivered the completion of the Long Island Railroad, the third track, and that's been extraordinary. As I ride out there often, the one-seat ride to the east ride from Grand Central Madison. How beautiful is that? I mean, that's a huge point of pride, and people are just, those who've never seen it before, are just stunned how magnificent it is. And the long-stalled Gateway Tunnel. This is an early conversation I had when I was the new governor, working with my partner across the river in New Jersey, and for too long there was just these clashes between governors and presidents and governors again, and it's like, put aside all this, I won't say what I was going to say, put it all aside, all the opposition, and just roll up your sleeves and get it done. Like, why don't we just get stuff done? So that's on the way, and that's really exciting, been talked about for a long time. And the Midtown Bus Terminal, let's move ahead on that, first proposed in 2007. So that's starting. So what I want to just simply say is this project hopefully will restore people's faith in our capacity and our desire to get the big transformational projects done. And this is right at the top of the list. And it is complex, and it's going to take some time and some money. But when this is all finished, as the other transformational projects that we all rely on now, those who came before us had the dream, had the vision, and had the ability to get it done. We are also in that same category. And this is going to be another hallmark of success, not just for our administration, but also for the MTA overall and for the community. This is a big success for the community overall. So thank you. I was really proud to be able to participate in this, and I look forward to hearing your remarks as well, Janno. Thank you.
Governor, thank you for highlighting the fact that under your leadership, the MTA is delivering projects one after another that have been talked about for a long time, and now are getting done. You named a few. I'll name a few more in my remarks, but this has really become a hallmark of the Hochul era, and it's one of the reasons that I say that under your leadership, the MTA has done more than at any time since maybe Governor Rockefeller formed the MTA. This has been a transformative golden age for the MTA, and we just are so grateful. I'm also grateful to my board members because normally we don't have an August meeting, and yet you're here. Some of you with the tans from the vacations that you left, Mr. Fleischer, but really grateful for you showing up on short notice and always being great supporters of the MTA and making sure that we stay on our toes and execute well. So a big tip of the hat to the board. The governor said it. The people of East Harlem have waited long enough. The contract before us today would be the largest tunneling contract ever awarded by the MTA, and the first of its kind, Governor, to use the design-build methodology, which is the way that we now take really complicated projects and make sure that you don't have the designer and the people who are doing the building run into each other and argue about what's viable, but using that unification of design and construction to make sure we do it as quickly and efficiently as possible. This project, ladies and gentlemen, damn good investment. Big number, damn good investment. It is in the same price range. There's always been debate about the Second Avenue Subway Phase 1 because Phase 1 did show many of the shortcomings of the traditional way of doing projects. this project, not only is it design build, but it is on par price-wise with international major tunneling projects, and it is by far the lowest cost per rider of any heavy rail project in the United States. People sometimes like to talk about cost per mile, but a lot of our cost is driven by the fact that we carry so many more people in these projects than anywhere else, and that is indicative of why this project is important and why it's such a good investment. I want to thank Jamie, who's going to speak in a few minutes with some more detail on the team for working around the clock to get this done while managing the utility relocations. Another step that we learned from the first thing, we got to move the utilities, a lot of which are from the 19th century, out of the way before you start actually trying to build and bore the new tunnels. That has been a cost savings and a schedule savings to this project. But Sib, Kurt, Sean Fitzpatrick, Mitch Schwartz, many others, is a huge team that has brought us to this moment. We're not afraid to do the hard stuff, Governor, just as you say, under your leadership. With a $68 billion capital plan, we have the opportunity to create a better system for 15 million people who depend on the MTA to live their lives. You always say it. It's about time savings. It's about a little extra time for exercise or whatever the things are that you value in life. And it also is the engine that powers this regional economy. Golden age for the MTA, not just the IBX, which you've talked about so eloquently. Metro North Penn access through the Bronx, a project that we are forging ahead on, though we are struggling a little bit because Amtrak controls the right-of-way, and that's always a drama, but that is a huge and important project to connect the people of the East Bronx to jobs and education and medical care and everything the region has to offer. You talked about the amazing benefit of these investments in Long Island that have taken place, third track, double track, Grand Central Madison, and how it's all paying off. In the month of July, the Long Island Railroad carried over 90% as many people as pre-COVID. Even in the era of hybrid work, Long Island Railroad is pushing pre-COVID levels ahead of every other mass transit operation in the United States, and so much more. We couldn't do it without your partnership. I've talked a lot about that, but I have to make an acknowledgement. The federal government is supporting this project. Not only the Biden administration greenlighted it, but this new administration under President Trump has also included it in their budget, and we need to acknowledge their support and partnership as we move forward as well with newly confirmed FTA Administrator Mark Molinaro. But a big thanks to, as you mentioned, Congressman Espaillat, who has been, passionate supporter of this project, but also Senator Schumer, our guardian angel in Washington, and the entire New York delegation. I just close by saying that, we are perennially, the MTA is perennially looked at to do more and to do better. And we are doing that. Ridership is up. We've helped to support the revival of the Central Business District, which was an early priority of yours 4 years ago. Service is better without getting to every little detail. On-time performance across the board is much better. We're getting projects done. And in the Hochul era, we're making transformative investments like those we have today. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jamie Torres-Springer, but again, a huge thank you to Governor Hochul for hosting us and for being with us all the time.
Thank you very much. I do want to just say one more thing. You neglected to talk about how safe the subways have become. Every single train having a camera.
Yeah.
That was a huge priority. As I said, we have to get that done. So I tell people you're being watched. Make sure that you behave yourselves. And the fact that I believe it was July had the lowest crime rate in recorded history on our subway. Also where the state is covering the cost of 2 NYPD officers every night, covering the cost of their overtime every night on the overnight trains, and so crime is going down. So what we're doing is talking about infrastructure today, but there's also the psychology of the subway system and the MTA overall, which I believe is trending in a much better direction, as at least the statistics bear out a story which is far more positive than it was when I first became governor 4 years ago. So thank you to everyone and your entire team for making that success happen as well. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate what you do. Enjoy the rest of your summer.
Governor Kathy Hochul, Democrat, New York, held a press briefing to announce progress on the long-awaited extension of New York City's 2nd Avenue subway line, a project that has been promised for nearly a century. She emphasized that the people of East Harlem, who have waited decades since the elevated railway was torn down, would finally see their community connected to better opportunities, jobs, schools, and healthcare. Hochul noted that many governors had come and gone without advancing the project, but under her administration, this era of neglect was coming to an end. At the briefing, Hochul confirmed the approval of a $2 billion tunneling contract, the largest of its kind ever awarded by the MTA. This contract will use the design-build approach, a modern method intended to streamline efficiency and reduce delays by keeping the designers and builders working as one team. She stressed that this contract demonstrated a serious commitment to moving the project forward after decades of inaction, calling it a transformational investment in the future of East Harlem. Hochul also highlighted that the funding for the project comes from the state's $68.4 billion capital plan, which includes revenue generated from congestion pricing. She stated that congestion pricing was already proving effective, reducing traffic while boosting business activity. The governor connected this project to other major infrastructure successes achieved during her tenure, including the Long Island Railroad third track, the Grand Central Madison Terminal, the Gateway Tunnel, and the Midtown Bus Terminal project. MTA Chair Janno Lieber praised Hochul's leadership, calling this period a golden age for the MTA, with more projects completed now than at any time since the agency's founding. He pointed out that the 2nd Avenue Subway Phase 2 is not only cost-efficient compared to other U.S. rail projects but also aligns with international standards, offering the lowest cost per rider in the country. The press briefing concluded with recognition of safety improvements in the transit system, including the installation of cameras in every subway car and record-low crime rates in July. Hochul and MTA leaders framed the project as not just about saving travel time, but also about reconnecting communities, restoring faith in public infrastructure, and driving long-term regional growth.